basically I was trying to defend myself, but it wasn't that big of a deal. It was just sort of a small gesture that I made, and then I decided I just need to leave, and um, and that's when I called and asked for an assist. And I called my relatives because I wanted to make sure she was okay, because she was distraught, and obviously she was distraught by my saying that I was pregnant, and I couldn't be the one to comfort her, so I asked if some family members would comfort her, or be there for her. So I guess they were there when the police showed up. I don't know what kinds of weird things the police did, because I know that they've tried to keep a lot of my family members under their thumb. So I believe that it's possible that my grandmother, having a little dementia and being kind of wigged out about everything, maybe she said she put her, because probably the police were fishing for something, and they probably said, did she harm you in any way, or if I said she was distraught, because they were looking for something. And so my grandmother might have said, well, she put my arms down. And so then I'm sure the police would have said, she touched you, and they basically made it into an assault. There was no assault at all. And I know that my uncle and my grandmother were not the ones giving the statement, even if the police were looking for something, because if somebody is getting a statement from witnesses about an event or incident, they get a witness statement, and the police didn't do that. The police made up their own. This one officer made up his own statement, and he wrote it up himself. So, and actually what was odd is that when the police officer came to court, it wasn't even one of the officers that were present when I was arrested, because it was this taller, white police officer with brown hair. And when the judge said, you don't have any other statement besides your own statement, he said, no, Your Honor. And so basically, there was no police statement I don't think there was a police statement from any three of the officers that were there. Or if there was, I don't know why there was some totally separate officer addressing that with the judge. Because the judge, he was addressing it as if it was his own statement that he had written. And he talked about it as if that's what he had written. So basically those three officers just, I think, tried to say that I had touched my grandmother, and they went right to me. They arrested me without having reasonable cause. They had no witness statement from anyone in the family. And then after they arrested me and put me in jail, then I think they took it to their superiors, and somebody decided we don't have anything, so they drafted, at that point, a police statement. And you cannot, I didn't know what the law was because I had never been arrested before. I don't have any experience with criminal or misdemeanor law. And apparently you cannot even arrest somebody without a witness statement. You're required to have, reasonable cause means you have a witness statement. And there wasn't one. So they basically they put me under false arrest. And I know that they knew that it was a false arrest. They knew that I had not been assaulted. And the woman who drove me there, she was basically, when they arrested me, those three individuals, the vicious, younger, shorter woman who was there jerked my hands behind my back. She was almost spitting in my face, and I said, I haven't done anything. And she said, we know you're smart. And she kept saying that, we know you're smart. And then she said, without my saying anything, I just looked at her, and she said, "You are known by police. You are known by law enforcement from Oregon to Washington State." I didn't ask for that information. She just volunteered it. She basically said I was known by law enforcement all law enforcement, supposedly, in the entire state of Oregon, and now that I just moved to Washington, and now Washington. So why was I known by law enforcement all throughout Oregon and Washington when I'd never had any involvement with them aside from trying to report rapes and crime and then having an FBI report? So at that point, that's when I knew even more. When I was out of jail, I knew I needed to get this FBI FOIA because I was sure that they had defamed me, because why would I be quote unquote so famous or infamous with all these police officers? I didn't realize at the time that many of these law enforcement individuals or federal workers were men who had date raped me. So of course they were going to get some of their officers. First I was put under an illegal investigation, quote unquote, when the Abbey didn't like me. So they made me sound bad with Mount Angel Police. Then I was meeting Raul and Armando with the FBI, and I was also, my only other involvement with the police was to be harassed, given false citations, which disappeared from the courthouse, and to try to report this rape, the couple of rapes. And then I had one time made a phone call and reported use, or my this friend Robin Bechtold, his attempt to buy my prescription drug pills from me that I had. They were prescription pills that I had for my knee surgery, which I needed, and he said he wanted to buy them from me, and I was stunned because I told him they were OxyContin. He asked what kind, and he said he told me even how much he would give me per pill, and I said no, I need them, and I did need them. And then I actually got off of them a lot sooner than I should have, because I was really very, very sick for almost a year after that, because I went off of the painkillers too quickly. And then his brother, of course, was an Oregon cop. So I know that it got to probably the FBI, to the cops, and to the Bechtolds, which is most likely why Janet was very happy when she said gleefully to me, "How does it feel to be homeless?" Because basically the law enforcement in Oregon was working against me, and they were trying to ruin my life for favors for friends, and I didn't know it. So at the time, I wasn't thinking about all those different things when I was told that I was known by all these officers from Oregon to Washington. I just thought, I am not a criminal, I've never been charged with anything my entire life, and so what grounds are there for all these law enforcement connected people to know who I am? And she said it in basically that it wasn't a good thing. "We know you're smart." Like I was the airplane barefoot bandit or something. I think they just didn't like the fact that they illegally gave me a citation for a suspended license on my car. And that I got my car back, because I think they were hoping I didn't have my car for a couple of months, and then I was also legally suspended on top of it. So anyway, when I was then put into the patrol car, this other woman who was older, who's sort of like a Julia Thornton physique type, she was quiet. She didn't really say that much, and I just thought, there's something really weird going on here. I knew that she knew that arrest had nothing to do with anything I'd done, and I knew that this woman who was driving me knew this. And I said, "So how would I be known? I asked her, I said, how would I be known by police from Oregon and Washington? She was just quiet. And then she did ask one question. She asked if I'd had any problem with, I think with my uncle before, or how that relationship was. And I had actually had counseling already with a counselor in Wenatchee, and told them how he had physically restrained me in the house one time. Tried to keep me from leaving when I was trying to leave an argument, and I didn't want to be present for it. Because I'm not combative, and I don't typically just like to argue. I mean, argue, yes, argue a point, a reasonable point with people who are discussing things. But screaming and shouting over people, no, that's not what I'm interested in. I mean, I've had my moments where I've screamed or gotten upset. But I don't, look for that.